The film begins in 1984 when the Soviet Union and the United States are engaged in a Cold War. While sending numerous trips toward the moon, the U.S. is also moving ahead of Russia in the competition for space missions. On the other hand, we see a secret Soviet lab in Russia where the two astronauts, named Sergei and Yosa, are working on a secret mission. It turns out that they are collaborating with Russian scientists to create hyper-aggressive humanoid sharks. These artificial sharks are designed to survive any situation and are unkillable. But one day, an error in their lab causes all the sharks to break out, destroying the electrical fences. The sharks then continue to attack every human who is present there. Sometime later, Sergei and Yosa somehow manage to escape shark attacks and reach the spaceship. Since leaving the sharks on Earth could mean wiping out humanity, they decide to head towards the moon. When Sergei tries to fly the spacecraft, it has problems operating. He claims that he will need some time to fix it, but just then, several sharks show up behind them. Therefore, Yosa stays behind to distract the sharks and sacrifices himself. Soon after, Sergei fixes the spacecraft and flies it toward the moon to take away the sharks from human habitation. The scene then shifts 40 years later, where 8 American astronauts are heading on a mission to the moon. The mission is led by Commander Nicole Tress, while the team members include Josie, Owen, Henry, Tom, Ellie, Liam, and Michael. The spacecraft is then launched toward the moon, but all of the systems suddenly lose control, cutting off the team's contact line. Nicole gives the order for the spacecraft to restart, after which the crew regains control. Just then, their spaceship collides with a satellite that would have allowed them to communicate with the Earth. Moments later, they somehow succeed in landing the spacecraft on the moon, but their system gets locked. They no longer have any way of going back to Earth or communicating with mission control. However, after some discussion, they realize that they have enough air and food to endure for 6 months, so they do not need to panic. A while later, Nicole decides to go find Yuta 2, a Chinese rover that is only a mile away from them, and might be able to help them fix their spacecraft. She heads outside with Henry, Liam, and Michael while wearing their spacesuits. Back in the spaceship, Ellie notices something written in Russian in their system and wonders what it could be. However, Tom convinces her that it could just be some Chinese characters picked up from Yuta 2. On the other hand, Nicole and the team members eventually locate the Yuta 2 rover. But before they can pick it up, they see a creature underneath moving closer to them. To their horror, it turns out to be a humanoid shark that kills Liam right away. And before he can reach the rest of them, 2 people arrive and kill the shark. The man turns out to be Sergei, who has been trapped on the moon ever since he arrived there 40 years ago. Meanwhile, the girl's name is Akula, and she is the adopted daughter of Sergei. Nicole and her team are taken aback by Sergei's unique spacesuit and the fact that Akula doesn't even require an oxygen tank. Sergei assumes that they must have been sent by Russians to rescue him, but Nicole informs him that they are Americans and were not sent on a rescue mission. But still, Nicole claims that they can help him in getting back. She further says that they must return to their spacecraft as soon as possible, before the shark comes back to attack again. However, Sergei tells them to accompany him to his spacecraft first and gather the required supplies. Despite being suspicious of the person they just met, Nicole has no option but to follow him. After that, everyone boards Sergei's rover and heads to his spacecraft. On the way, a shark suddenly shows up and takes Henry with him. Nicole rushes to help him, but Sergei stops her, telling him they won't kill him. She then tries to alert her team from the spaceship, but Sergei again stops her by claiming that the sharks can find their spaceship by detecting the electromagnetic pulse sent through the radio. Then Sergei leads them to his spacecraft, and Nicole is filled with questions about his identity and how he is still alive. Meanwhile, Akula shows them a scar on her body and explains that she is also a hybrid shark. Since she had more traits of a human than a shark, Akula was considered weak and thrown out of her tribe. She was then discovered by Sergei, who raised her as his daughter. Akula gives the group a spacesuit she created, which would shield them from electromagnetic waves and heat, so that the sharks won't be able to detect them. Sergei discloses that the Soviet Union created these half-human, half-sharks 40 years ago so that they might wage war against the United States. However, following the breakdown, they were compelled to bring them to the moon because it was too dangerous for these creatures to roam around the Earth. He then tells them the story of his friend Yosa, who sacrificed his life so that he may live. In the meantime, the sharks take Henry to their base, where they have established a whole empire for their tribes. A while later, their leader, Tzarina, approaches him and begins torturing him, while inquiring about the location of their spaceship. It turns out the sharks intend to return to Earth to establish their colony to rule over humans as a superior species. But when Henry gets reluctant to answer it, Tzarina commands one of her sharks to bite his leg off. Then, as Henry cries out in pain, he eventually discloses the location of their spaceship. However, he begs Tzarina to swear that they will not hurt his crew, which she agrees to. Back in the spaceship, Ellie misunderstands Nicole's distorted message and believes that they must be in danger. Immediately, she and Owen head outside to find their team, and after a while, they notice Liam's dead body. Just then, a few sharks appear behind them and eventually kill them as well. Meanwhile, with Sergei and Akula's help, Nicole and her crew proceed to the sharks' camp to rescue Henry. They eventually find Henry, who reveals that the sharks have found the location of the spacecraft and are on their way there. Hearing this news, they try to run away, but on their way, the team comes across an incubation chamber filled with shark eggs that had been frozen. Michael argues that they should kill them right away to prevent shark breeding, but Akula interrupts him, claiming that they are just innocent babies. Later, while the others run away, only Akula stays behind to confront Tzarina. She informs Akula that she is the link between humans and sharks, and offers her to join them so that they can be more powerful together. However, Akula refuses, saying that they abandoned her as a child and therefore have no right to claim her now. Tzarina reveals that the others wanted to kill her, but she spared her life since she knew the human would take her in. But Akula refuses to cave to her manipulation and walks away with the rest of her team. Meanwhile, the sharks eventually reach the spacecraft, where only Tom and Josie are present. When Nicole and the rest of the group arrive, they discover that Tom and Josie have killed the sharks and managed to save themselves. However, more sharks appear and attack them, and Henry states that since he is responsible for revealing their location, he will now handle this. Then he exits the building to divert the sharks' attention away from the spacecraft before setting off a bomb that kills most of them. Back inside, the group desperately works to repair the spaceship, but they notice that more sharks have appeared outside with dangerous weapons. After that, Nicole tells them to go into hiding separately, but Tom and Josie are quickly found and slaughtered by the sharks. In the meantime, the remaining people who are alive surrender in front of the bloodthirsty sharks. They are then imprisoned and brought in front of their leader. Tzarina says that her crew had sneaked in earlier and learned everything they needed to know to return back to Earth. She again invites Akula to join them, claiming that she is one of them, but Akula declines her advances. Then Tzarina thanks Akula for flawlessly carrying out the plan and reveals that abandoning her near Sergei's spacecraft was always a part of the plan. However, Akula claims that she was unaware of any of this and assures Sergei that she is innocent, which he believes without hesitation. Next, Tzarina orders her commander shark to kill the crew, but Henry unexpectedly appears from behind and kills the shark. He is then immediately killed by another shark, but Nicole also manages to kill that animal. Now, Nicole notices something in Henry's palm and realizes it is the pen drive containing the information about their route. After that, they exit the spacecraft one by one, and only Akula is left behind. She ends up killing Tarzina by pushing her out of the spaceship, after which she jumps to the ground. In the meantime, more sharks start to appear, and the group somehow enters Sergei's spacecraft. With no other option, Sergei declares that he will fly his spaceship into the shark's base, causing an explosion that will kill every shark within a 50-mile radius. Akula feels emotional and says she will accompany him. But Sergei tells her to go with Michael and Nicole and asks her to stay alive at any cost. In the next scene, Sergei launches his spaceship and targets the shark camp, and the geothermal disturbance creates tidal waves of lava. Meanwhile, Nicole's spaceship, which had all the sharks on board, is also destroyed in the process. Now, Nicole, Michael, and Akula board another spaceship and return to Earth. They eventually land in the middle of the ocean and are overjoyed to be back on their home planet. As they discuss what to do next, Akula starts suffering from intense stomach pain. When Nicole asks her if she had any physical relationships with other hybrids, Akula refuses to tell and says that she wants to find an alpha man on Earth. At that moment, Nicole recalls Sergei telling her that hybrid sharks can become pregnant through automatic parthenogenesis. Eventually, Akula gives birth to many hybrid baby sharks. And moments later, she jumps into the sea, saying that she needs to take care of her babies. As the movie comes to an end, Nicole realizes that they are now doomed since the hybrid sharks have arrived on Earth. If you enjoyed this movie recap, make sure to hit the like button. And if you want to see more of these, subscribe to the channel and check out our other videos.